Okay, good morning to all. I hope that you all are safe and sound health. Welcome to our fourth webinar about the research development, skill development, organized by Onism Consultancy. So very good morning to all of you. As a host, I am welcoming you. I am Mohammad Imtiaz Hossain, postgraduate student of University Putra, Malaysia. I am the lead consultant and founder of Onism Consultancy. Currently, I am the Vice President of Bangladesh Student Association of UPM and Conference Secretary of Bangladesh Student Union of Malaysia. Additionally, I am acting as an editor member in the Worldwide Journal of Research. So far, I published 31 articles, including Q1, within my 2 years research career. And I have the privileges to facilitate it, organized, moderated, and co-anchored 43 plus workshops, seminars, and conference, and attended 156 plus training and workshops. This is the short bio. Those who are very new about us, so this is some services we are providing from Onism. Basically, we provide the research service and skill development, functional skill and soft skill both. In the research service, we provided the proofreading service, copy editing, formatting, and selecting the right journals, plagiarism checking, conference and workshop organization. And on the other hand, we also provide the functional skill service like Smart PLS, MOS, SPSS, NBWolf, ANSYS, Mendeley. And we have planned to organize a lot of webinars and short courses on IELTS and CELTA. And in the soft skill services, we provided the consultation on leadership, communication, negotiation, public speaking, critical thinking, selling skill, emotional intelligence, digital marketing skill, corporate grooming, NLP, and academic writing. This is some of the graphs of our past activities on Onism. So far, we organized 4 webinars subsequently, and we assisted around 60 plus publications, proofread and edited more than 40 manuscripts, and consulted 27 masters and PhD students. We also co-organized the international conference. Recently, we was the co-organizer in the international e-conference on impact of COVID-19, which was organized in August 29 and 30. So this is our today's webinar, our webinar on higher education Viva Voce, before, during, and after. And our resource person, I'm introducing our resource person, Dr. Babatunji Samuel, Adedeji Babatunji Samuel. He is a lecturer of Department of Accounting, Olabisi, Onabanjo, University, Nigeria. And he is the fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He completed his PhD from School of Business of Economics, University of Putra, Malaysia. He has 32 years of practical experience in both industry and academia. So you see, he has a lot of experience. And he published so far 50 publications, internationally reputed journals, and also contributed in 5 books. His research area on management, accounting, corporate governance, sustainability, and tertiary higher education. I hope you all take this opportunity to learn from this veteran academician. So, and also today is a very special day for him because today is his birthday. So it's a big day for him. So please wish you all, and we also wish his sound health and prosperity. So happy birthday, Mr. Samuel, Dr. Samuel.
Thank you.
So on that note, I want to conclude my introduction remark, and I am giving the floor to our facilitator. Thank you. I'm stopping sharing my slides. Now, Dr. Samuel, you can share your slides. There have a green button, share screen. Dr. Samuel, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, you find the button, green screen share.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and for those who are watching us from outside Malaysia.
Little bit louder, can you speak, Dr. Samuel? We cannot hear very loudly.
Oh, it's not loud enough?
Sorry?
It's not loud enough?
No, we can hear, but little bit louder, please.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I want to say good morning once again. And our focus for this webinar is higher education, Viva Voce, before, during, and after. This is the end product of every academic exercise. To say that you had your thesis title approved, you have gone through all of the processes, writing and putting your materials together. Now is the time for presentation. So the Viva Voce is an attempt at assessing the student, the thesis, and the research. In other words, we are saying, what is a Viva? The Viva is an academic exercise that ensures the final evaluation of the research, the thesis, and the student. Remember, it is your responsibility and not that of your supervisor to have your presentation done. Again, Viva is not a process to humiliate anyone. All that is being done is to help the student or the candidate to be able to demystify the examination procedure, because all along, a lot of students have always had that discomfort that somebody is going to be very, very unapproachable, somebody is not going to be fair to them. And when you look at the Viva, it is also that which looks at all that you have done right from the day you had your admission into the program. That is why it is a retrospective discussion of a piece of work that is complete. You are presenting your work for assessment. Remember, it's an evaluation. And you are telling us, I have done all that could be done. So it is complete in all material respect, as far as you are concerned, because you are the originator. The Viva provides basis for current, potential, and future work to ensure continuity of the thoughts of the thesis writer and other researchers. Here, we want to be able to determine all that went through to be able to come up with the thesis, as well as focus on the opinion or the views of the researchers that you have also either adapted or adopted their work in order to enhance the output of your own research. The Viva also involves the determination of how it has been undertaken, who should be present, and the time required. We are still going to talk about this in some other slides. It provides the basis for the exchange of ideas rather than justifying what is being presented. See the Viva as a means of rubbing minds together. Don't see it as a way of trying to lord your own views or opinion on those who are assessing you. Be ready to learn from them. And in some other cases, they are also ready to learn from you. I will share my own experience with you later. It also helps in establishing a good working relationship for references and recommendations for academic publications. If, for instance, your work is sent to an external examiner, you already have a relationship with someone who is outside of your immediate environment and reference his work. He can also reference your work. And if you are talking about publishing, it is from your academic work that you can begin to relate with publishing houses or journals. Now, what are the different terms for the aspect of the Viva? We are saying who are involved. Because when you are going in for a Viva, you should be able to determine what you are likely to meet with, or who you are likely to meet with, and what their roles are. The first point of contact is your supervisor or your thesis advisor or your tutor. When you are given the admission ab initio, you are assigned to a supervisor or your thesis advisor. Now, please note that it is not the responsibility of the supervisor to write your thesis for you. It is only to serve as a guide. He is your mentor. So you must, and I underline that word, you must take him or her as your friend. You must trust in him or her. Whenever you have challenges, you must be able to open up and discuss so that you can have a light mind to be able to do your work. The supervisor is one who is knowledgeable in your area of study. So he's already ahead of you. He or she knows. Don't avoid him or her. You need him or her before, during, and even after you might have finished your program. Outside of your supervisor, you have your external examiner. It depends on the institution. Please note that it is not the same format that is followed in all the institutions of the world. So that is why in one or two other slides we are going to talk about what constitutes the code of practice. So your external examiner is not a member of your institution in some cases. For instance, in my own case, my external examiner was not even from my environment here in Malaysia. Came from another continent entirely. Even in my own institution, faculties have different ways of appointing examiners. Some faculties in my own university, they appoint examiners from within the country. In some faculties, they appoint examiners from foreign countries, and we have most especially from UK, from US, and from Australia. So that is your external examiner, and who, and incidentally, is your chief examiner. He is the one who will look through your work, and his decision is key. His comments are key. And you have the external examiner too. Now, this could be possible in a situation whereby your work or your study is multidisciplinary in nature. And they will get people who are from the different disciplines to be able to look at your work. In this case, it may not necessarily be an outsider. It may be someone from within your university or from within your faculty. It does not have anything to do with your main thesis work. And you have the internal examiner. Again, it depends on the practice in your university. Now, internal examiners could be 2 or it could be 1. And these are people, or this is a person who is knowledgeable as far as your area of study is concerned. Then you have chairman, who is to coordinate the activities during the Viva session. And of course, you have your committee. Now, there is what we call the Supervisory Committee, and there's what we call the Examination Committee. Now, the Supervisory Committee will be inclusive of your main supervisor and another supervisor, as the case may be, or 2 other supervisors. Those are the ones that will be members of your supervisory committee at your departmental level. Then you have the examination committee, which is made up of the chairman and your examiners. Like I said, it could be 2, it could be 1. But in our own case here at my university, we have the chairman, we have 2 internal examiners, and we have Viva secretary, meeting 4. So when you are going in for your Viva, these are the people that you are likely to meet with. And I repeat again, the chairman, the internal examiners, the secretary, and then the supervisory committee members will come if they so wish. Code of practice or conduct of patterns in practice. Now, like I said, there is no common basis for the examination in all universities, even though there are agencies that have come up with their own code of practice. You have those of them in the sciences, you have those of them in the social sciences, in the UK, in the US, in Australia. But the university has its own code. And that is why, as a prospective candidate for the Baiba, you must have the code ready. You must be able to understand the code to be able to know what the requirements are in terms of the responsibilities of the supervisor, the responsibility of the examiners, the responsibility of the chairman, the place, the time, and the duration of the Baiba. This code of practice can be either internal or external. When it is internal, it is institutionally based. That is why you have to know what is the peculiarities or what are the peculiarities of the code in your own university. Again, we have the external code of practice, which is to ensure quality in terms of delivery, in terms of the arrangement, and in terms of the procedures that are to be followed. So what is being done is that a balance is being maintained between what the institution or the institutions believe in and what the independent organizations are talking about, so that the midway point is arrived at. Like I said, the format for the postgraduate research evaluation regulation determines who your examiners are, what their qualifications are, and where and how they can be appointed. These regulations are to be made available to the examiners, to the staff, and to the students, so that there are no confusion about who has what role to play. The code of practice also helps in providing the timing for such information, because time is of essence. There are procedures to be followed in terms of when you are supposed to give your notice, when you are supposed to submit your thesis, when your thesis goes out for evaluation, when your thesis comes back from the external examiner, when the internal examiners are ready for you, when the examination committee are ready. All of these things are spelled out in the code of practice. So, in other words, we are saying that the mechanism for the communication of nomination of examiners, the examination process, and time involved in arriving at the decision and the potential outcome of the evaluation are contained in the code of practice. Come to think of it, the whole world had been affected by the issue of COVID-19, and this had made it mandatory for the video conferencing to be the vogue now. And this is now coming into the code of practice for a lot of institutions because they have not been, they have not experienced that before now. And of course, the video conferencing has been able to fast track the Baiba process, even though it has not taken away some of the fundamental procedures that are involved, i.e., giving your notice, talking about submitting your thesis, and then constituting the committee for the examination. The only difference is that you will not be face-to-face with your examiners. And this you can do via Skype or other form of social media. Now, for you to be able to prepare for the Viva, you need to know the pattern it will take. What is the pattern? First is that the chairman, like I said before, has the overall say. Is the one who is in charge of that day, is in charge of the proceedings. So he will be the one to introduce the members of the committee to the student. He'll be the one to determine the time for the presentation. The practice in my school here that you are given 20 minutes to present the whole of the work that you have done in the last 3 or 4 years. And for you as a student, your responsibility is to make your presentation. And when you are making your presentation, you have to make use of slides. And you don't make your slides to be too confusing, too cumbersome. Try as much as possible to be able to have a lot of things in your head. You cannot be doing your presentation and then you are reading through. You will not be able to make the 20 minutes. And that will count against you. So what you do is to make your presentation, and then there will be time for discussion whereby questions will be posed at you concerning what you have presented. It is always better if you can make your presentation in graphical forms because they are easily understood and it will help you to be able to save time. After your presentation, there is what we call the working session, whereby the examiners will now try to determine the level of skills that you have, especially in terms of putting your views and opinions together concerning the thesis, how you have gone about it, what did you do, what were the problems you encountered, how did you solve the problem, and how did you carry out your analysis, what informed the choice of the technique that you have used, and why not another technique. Here, you should note that nobody is witch-hunting. What we just want to be sure about is the fact that this was not a contracted work, that you did it by yourself. You have an understanding of what you have presented. Of course, your supervisors will be there. That is your main supervisor, who is the chairman of your supervisory committee, and members of the committee. But they are not expected to talk. So you don't look at your supervisor and say, what am I going to say here? I'm going to look at the role of the supervisor later in another slide. But as far as the Baiba is concerned, and for the practice, the supervisor is only there as an observer. Please note, he or she is there as an observer to take notes. And if the chairman feels that he or she has a question to ask, or they want her to participate, then they will invite her. But it is not for her to say anything or him to say anything. And at the end of the exercise, the chairman, after discussing with the examiners, will come up with the verdict as to whether you have passed and what follows thereafter, in terms of whether you have minor corrections, you have major corrections. And they will also tell you that there's a time frame that is attached for corrections to be submitted. Before now, in my own school, it used to be if you have there are 3 ways of coming up with the result. Either you have passed, or you have failed, or you have to represent. If you have passed, then it's either you have a minor correction or a major correction. With the minor correction, before now, you have 1 month to do the correction. And for major, you have 3 months. But we have discovered that time has never worked out. People always ask for extension. So now the situation is minor corrections, 3 months, major corrections, 6 months. So for you to be able to go through the Viva, there are certain criteria as well as roles and responsibilities that are involved. Criteria in terms of what the examiners will use to assess your work and your presentation. First, the problem statement must be clear. What really do you want to provide solutions to? And they must be correct. Now, please note that there is a difference between a problem and a gap. All problems are gaps, but all gaps are not problems. But when you say it's a gap, it means that an attempt had been made, something better can still be done. They also want to be able to know how well you have consistently applied all that you have outlined concerning your study. That is looking through from your chapters 1 to 5 or chapters 1 to 6 or chapters 1 to 7. Are you consistent in referencing your work so that they can be able to see the flow of what you are presenting? Because it's very, very important. And that is why for the PhD program, it is not just about the degree. It is about your ability to be able to ensure that you have a flow of ideas. And they also want to see how your conclusion has been able to capture all that you have done. How relevant is your conclusion, that area of study? Have you been coherent? That is, you are steady, especially with your tenses, your vocabulary, and your presentation. You have a good understanding of the theory, especially when you are carrying out a quantitative research. In a quantitative research, you require at least a theory to be able to prove the substance of what you have studied. During the Viva session, they want to see your level of confidence. If you are too jittery, someone can capitalize on that. You must be able to show a mastery of your work, to the extent that you can even reference pages. If they ask a question, you can say, yes, the answer to this question is on page so. That shows that you did the work by yourself. Now, original is your work. Because a research does not necessarily mean that you are doing something that is new. You might be improving on what others have done. You might be arguing against what others have done. But is there anything that is novel in your work that will stand it out from what others have done? Even if it is little. For instance, in my own case, my thesis was on corporate governance and intellectual capital. And most studies have been on listed companies. So I decided to look at the medium-sized company because from literature, I was able to find out that they constitute more, not only in terms of number, but in terms of contribution to the GDP, in terms of employment opportunities, and in terms of export capacity. That made the work to be unique. And I now looked at it along with the aspect of sustainability. You have to make sure that you avoid ambiguity. You must make your work to be clear. Don't give them the room to be asking questions. Use simple sentences. They want to see you use simple sentences. Again, when you look at the disciplines, there are differences. So assessment cannot be the same. That is why, like I said before, when you look at the examination committee, it does not necessarily mean that you have people who are from your own field alone. If your work is multidisciplinary in nature, then they will call people from other disciplines to assess the work. They also want to look at whether you have within yourself accepted the fact that you have graduated. It's private graduation. That is, you are already feeling on top of the world because you are going for Baiba. Nobody's resting again. I've taken so many things for granted. What is going to happen there? You still have much more work to do because the gesture, the composure, the way you look will provide some information to your examiners. That's why you have to be level-headed. You have to avoid pomposity. You are not showing anybody any skill. You're not expected to go there and argue because you thought you have done something that is novel. So these are some of the bases that are used to evaluate your thesis. Roles and responsibilities. Your information, they come from your institution, your supervisor, and your examiner. What am I trying to say here is that there are some information that are not, and I underline, are not for your consumption. There is a need for you to be able to sieve information so that you don't run into troubled waters. Don't listen to hearsay. Be sure that you can confirm the source of whatever information you want to use. Even if you have been guided in a particular way, see big things to go ahead and confirm that's the truth. Because in some cases, even examiners will want to test the extent to which you have been able to take things. I'll give you an example. The chairman of my examination committee asked a question concerning corporate governance. He said, I saw in your list of references that you cited somebody's work which was written in 1838. Did you see that very article? And I said, no. So how come? I said, well, Smith and others wrote that article in 1838. However, I saw this work in the work of another author, Hossain and McLean. I said, fine. You have also educated me because I never knew there was even any work done before Bellis and Means, 1932. So you have added more to my knowledge. That's a research. You have your own role as a student. So what is your approach? You need to be able to understand your approach. Is your approach like that of the ostrich? You don't care what happens. What's going to be there? Who are they? Don't be full of yourself. Because they are not assessing your work alone. They are also assessing your attitude. And when they are awarding you a certificate, they will tell you that you have been found worthy in character even before they award you the degree. You are not fighting, you are not quarreling with anybody. So don't see the Viva as them and us. You are not into any competition with anybody. See it as just one of those examination procedures. Go there, tell your own storyline. Don't think that it's going to be difficult. Don't take it for granted. Of course, I just have to go there. What about it? No, it's not a mere formality. It's a serious business. See it as an exercise that will help you to audit your existing skills. How well prepared are you? What's your knowledge base like? What are you still lacking? And at the end of it all, the examiners will also ask you, do you have questions for us? So this is why there is a need for you to be able to ask questions in order to be able to ensure that you are not carrying the wrong impression away from that session. Like I said, there are examiners, internal and external, have spread out their own roles and responsibilities. And you have the committee, which is the examination committee. We have talked about that. And then the chairman is expected to be neutral, not on anybody's side. That's why he will tell you the plain truth, nothing but the truth. Now, what am I supposed to do before the Viva? Countdown to the Viva. What are those things that are expected of me? Like I said before, there is a code of practice. Every institution has it. If you are not having it now, please go and look for it. It's always on the website of the institution. You can download it and read through to be able to know what are contained therein. For you as a student, concerning your supervisors, concerning your examiners, internal and external, concerning the procedure or procedures for the examination. And whatever is not clear to you, that's why your supervisor is there. You can approach your supervisor to explain certain things to you. So I don't get it wrong from day one. Because this code is always there for you right from the very first day of your enrollment in the institution as a postgraduate student. You have to go to your supervisor, discuss with him or her. Remember, you have already submitted your work. So, what do you do? Let your supervisor share his or her own experiences with you. And when you are going, go with your biro and a notebook so that you can put down These are our thoughts that will guide you later, so that you can be able to determine what you should expect. Remember, your supervisor is ahead of you. He or she is knowledgeable. Don't discount his or her opinion. It is your responsibility to determine your examination committee members. Though your supervisor has the responsibility to nominate. However, there are occasions, for instance, when, especially in the case of the external examiner, the supervisor might not know anyone. So she will ask for your own input. And how do you get your input through? It's for you to go on the internet. That's why you have to register with some of these bodies, like LinkedIn, your ResearchGate, Google Scholar, so that you see people who are in your area. You can even put questions across, and they can solve for you. You can call some of them and discuss with them. Let them know what you wanted from them. Then from there, you can meet with your supervisor. Your supervisor cannot discuss with them, and at the end of the day, a decision will be taken. And readiness for your Viva. Go through your thesis as many times as possible. Apart from the fact that you have to do your mock Viva with your supervisor and your supervisory committee, it must not be once. In my own case, I had it about 4 times with my supervisor and my supervisory committee. And with my friends, I also had it about 7, 8 times. Severally, different people, even not even people from my own discipline, because they will look at it differently. And you are going to learn. Make a personal evaluation of your preparedness. What are the challenges that you are having right now? What are those things that you can't explain now? What are those issues that you have not been able to provide answers concerning them? This will help you to be able to confirm your level of confidence. You need to confirm the date, the place, and time of the Viva. If possible, visit the place 1 week in advance. See what the environment looks like. Look at the amenities that are there. Look at the facilities that are available, so that you can be able to make up your mind. For instance, some people are not used to cold weather. Some people are not used to hot weather. Some people are afraid of rooms that are big. All of these you can eventually go back and discuss with your supervisor, and you can make amendments. Suit your own purpose. You have the right. Try as much as possible to update your questions answering skills. It's not just enough for you to answer a question. You must be able to substantiate what you are providing as your answer. And if possible, you can provide references to support your answer. Try as much as possible to compile a list of likely questions and practice with them. Available on the internet. You can get this from people who have done Viva before. And get from your friends. And get from people from other institutions. And go to the YouTube. They are all there. So that you can be well prepared. Check out sample examiners report from your seniors. At the end of every Viva session, the examiner's report is prepared. look at what you ask for, because they will arrange it in such a way that they take it right from your background of the study up to the last element of your areas for that study. Be sure your examination is constituted, your examination committee is constituted and approved. That is examination committee. Be sure your examination committee is constituted and approved by the postgraduate school. Because this will always be on your portal. That's why you have to check your portal on a consistent basis. You must not sleep until you have checked your portal every day, because information will always come in. Be sure your thesis has been sent out to the external examiner, so that you don't just continue to read about the bush. Confirm that your Viva date has been formally approved and agreed to by the members of the examination committee. Because there are times when the chairman may say, I'm not ready, or a member of the committee will say, oh, I'm not available. I've had situations whereby Viva dates have been shifted once or twice for no fault of the student. Update your literature base. Yes, you have completed your thesis. That does not give you room to say, yes, I am through. No, because after you might have submitted, some other articles will come up that are recent. And the beauty of any presentation is to showcase that you have a recent source. Most especially when you are going to do your correction, one of the things that they normally ask for is the recent sources of the literature. And if you have done that, then you will not have any problem when it comes to having your correction. Highlight important areas in your thesis. What do I mean by this? If your thesis is from chapters 1 to 5 or chapters 1 to 6, you can highlight some areas that you feel are key. Because that when you look at them like this, it will tell you some stories. It will put some things on your mind that you can hardly forget. Again, you can use paper, colored paper, to separate the pages. And then by the side of the paper, you can write what is included in that page that you want to remember. Or there are some little sticker paper that you can use. Just write the page or the chapter, and then you stick it, so that as soon as you open it, it will enable you to know that you are opening to chapter 3 or you are opening to chapter 4, you are opening to chapter 5. This will help you a lot, because you can't put everything in your head. And put all the materials you will need in your Viva kit. I'm sure some people are hearing this concept of Viva kit for the first time. What's a Viva kit? Your Viva kit consists of your thesis, your pencil, your biro, your eraser, your marker, your sticker, your notes that you have taken. You put all of them in that Viva kit, so that wherever you are going, you always have it with you. You always make reference to it. In case somebody is giving you an idea, you will not be running up and down because you have your pencil and paper in that kit. You just bring it out and write it. Maybe somebody is asking you to go to a website for an information. Everything will be there so that you can always come back. Visit the location of the Viva ahead of time, like I said. Then, before the Viva day, a week, ensure that you can rest very well, eat very well, and organize yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Make everything to be very light. You need people around you as much as you need your time to be able to put things in order. During the Viva, you are expected to arrive at the Viva Center for any other person. That shows how disciplined you are. Don't go and sit down in the Viva room before the examination committee members come. It is part of the test of integrity. In other words, I am saying that you must allow for you to be invited by the chairman of the committee. Even when your supervisor and your supervisory committee members come, they don't go into the Viva room. They will find a place to sit down until they are invited. So don't be too forward about it. And when you are invited into the room, listen carefully to instructions from the chairman. He will introduce himself, he will introduce the members of the committee, and please be very careful. Be very, very careful, because the chairman might not be familiar with some of the members of the committee, and he will address them by their first names. Don't make the mistake of addressing them by their first name by the time you want to address them. The chairman will tell you the time that you have for your presentation, and he will be the one to call the examiners to cross-examine you concerning what you have presented. Please make sure that you are able to work within the time frame that is given to you. That gives you a plus. And before you start with your presentation, there is a salutation. Be mindful of your salutation. Like I said, the chairman has introduced the members. So you don't go and salute the members before the chairman. Start with the chairman and the members and the secretary, and if your supervisor or your supervisory committee members are there, then you introduce yourself. During your presentation, don't be too much in a haste to deliver whatever you have. Slow down your speech and speak carefully, because they're looking at you. They are making impressions from whatever you have to say. And when it is time for questions, do not interject them when they're asking you questions, because you know the answer. write down the questions and think fast about what your answers or what your response should be. Please do not argue with the committee. If you have a strong point, yes, you can make your point. However, not to the detriment of your character. Do not go into the Viva session with a stone face. Don't show that you are worried. Don't show that you have a problem. And when you agree, you can nod your head and smile. Keep up a smiling face. That shows that you are relaxed. But if you carry a stone face, that means you are tensed up. Somebody can use it against you. And in order to be able to eat into their time, you can distract them by drinking your water. It's not a way of showing that you're a coward. It's just a strategy on your own part. Be able to stabilize yourself. When they ask questions, questions are of various types. I've listed them here. Questions could be specific, could be general, they could be close, open, easy, hard, long, second chance, methodological, testing your writing skills, probing your knowledge base. It could be aggressive. It could be a follow-up. It could be combined, obvious, and repackaging. You want to be able to know what this study can bring forth at a later time. Please always avoid general statements. Because you have carried out your study concerning a particular phenomenon or a particular area of study. And also remember that you are expected to report on your thesis. So when you are making your presentation, you should make your presentation in reported speech. And avoid using pronouns, especially I. Cite others where they strengthen your submission. That shows the extent to which you have been able to understand the views of others and how they have contributed to your work. After the Baiba, the chairman debriefs the session after all examiners have made their contributions. So he will now come up with your performance, where you have performed well, what your shortcomings are, and areas of improvement. For this time, in most cases, we will ask you to go up along with your supervisors for the committee to take a decision. After they have looked at the submission, the chairman had listened to the examiners, and they will take a decision. There and then they will invite you and your supervisory committee. And the chairman will make the pronouncement as to whether you have passed or otherwise. And the nature of the past, whether it is with minor corrections or major corrections. For instance, in my own case, the chairman said the presentation was okay. Left for him, he would have wanted it to be a minor correction, which will require my having to make submit my corrections within 1 month. But he will not want me to be put under any stress. Therefore, he asked for my own opinion. Supposing I give you major corrections, will you mind? I said, it's okay, that's fine, because you need time. Even when they gave me the 3 months, I still could not finish. I still had, I asked for extension. Whichever way it goes, you need to celebrate your success or otherwise, at least to take away the stress, because you went into that room with a lot of stress in your system. So go out, rejoice with your people. After, you will now be given your list of corrections that will be sent to you. Don't just collect the list of corrections and begin to work on your own. Meet with your supervisor or your supervisory chair, council. How do you go about it? He or she will have one or two things tell you based on his or her own experience. Meet with the assigned internal examiner for guidance. Many a times, they have looked at your work, they have made their comments. Maybe one or the two of them will give you their comments based on the thesis that they had. So you have to go through their corrections as well as the list of corrections that came from the examination committee. But some of them may not be spelled out in the list of corrections. Ensure that you can work within the framework of time given to submit your corrections. Where it is not likely to meet up with the assigned time, request for more time with the support of your supervisor. And lastly, work hard to get the sentence approved on time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel, for a wonderful session. Personally, I learned a lot. I never thought about to collecting the previous statement or previous report from my friend. So this is the first time I got the point. I should collect my friend's previous report. So like this, lot of tips we already got. And personally, I am also sharing that preparation is very important for your Baiba. You have to show your caliber of presentation. You have to show your depth of knowledge. Okay? And we have to be learn about how to disagree and also how to display your knowledge. So thank you. If any questions from our participants, please unmute yourself and you can ask. The floor is open. Just unmute and you can ask the questions. Any questions? Mr. Dusyakar, Sharul Islam, the participants as well. If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, Rotimi, she have a questions. He or she. Okay, I just unmute herself. Okay.
Okay.
Just unmute.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Sama. My name is Rotimi. I appreciate the information that you've shared with us on this platform. My question is, because in the course of your presentation, you said that you gave the impression as if the student has a responsibility to determine the examiner. So I was a bit, because my understanding has been that it's the supervisory committee or the chairman of the supervisor will determine the examiner, both internal and external examiner for the Baiba. So I did not know that student has to play a role. Just want to clarify that. Can you clarify that, sir?
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
You see, the international agencies, especially in the UK, US, and Australia, they have been clamoring for this issue of transparency.
Okay.
And that is to the fact that students should not be made to be at the back seat, because it has to do with them.
Okay.
They must have a say in whatever happens to them. And if you want to be fair, you need to also, because you as a supervisor was involved right from the beginning up till that time. So you know the capacity of this candidate. That's number one. Number two is that the supervisor may not even, we have seen situations like that. I have two of my friends who had that challenge. The supervisors will not get an external examiner because they were coming into that area of the students' research for the first time.
Okay.
So what they did was to ask the students to go and get an external. And if he was able to get, then they will discuss. So they were using the supervisor's email address to communicate. But the guy had to go online, and he got two people. And it was out of these two people that the university approved one.
Okay.
So in the advanced countries, they allow students to be involved.
Okay.
Because the students are also part of the examination process. So if they are not involved, have an issue, we might be shortchanging them.
Okay.
So it's another way of ensuring that management, as well as the supervisory team, can enhance confidence level of the students.
Okay.
Hope I've answered the question, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Rashidul Hassan Palash, you have a question. Is there any mandatory dress code for Baiba?
Okay. Yes, but you have to look at the culture. Like I said before, that every student is supposed to have a copy of the code of practice. Within the code of practice, it should be spelled out there. The mode of dressing will be spelled out. And you have to follow that strictly. Outside of that, you also have the right to discuss with your supervisor, who can also guide you. Apart from that, you can also have one or two words with your friends who have gone through this before, so that you don't run foul of the law. But it's not as if there is a strict provision to that effect. It varies. So that's why you must understand the culture and the thinking of the management.
Okay. Mr. Shahrul Islam, he has a very interesting question, very tricky question, right? Any right to ask the questions to examiner for better understanding? The students have any right to ask the questions to the examiner?
Yes, I said it when I was making my presentation that the examiners will also ask from you if you have any question for them. Don't be shy. It's also part of your right, because there are certain things that might not probably be clear to you. And then you want clarification. At that point, it is your responsibility to ask questions. And you can also be specific. Remember, I said that questions could be specific, could be general. You don't want the question that you are asking for the type that can embarrass the examiner. Avoid that. Ask questions that will add to the knowledge base of everyone within. I give you an example. When they asked me during my own Viva, do I have any question? And I said, yes. And the chairman said, to who? And I said, to the first examiner. He said, okay, go ahead. And I said, doctor, I have this challenge within me. I did not put it to her that she had a challenge. I said, I had this challenge within me. And she said, what challenge? I said, it has to do with my ability to be able to determine what constitutes the dimension or dimensions of one of my latent variable. I said, okay, fine. So how many did you discuss in your thesis? I said, I discussed 6. I said, mention them. I mentioned them. And she said, so what else do you need? I said, there are some other ones, i.e. meetings. Because you only have meetings, as a regular feature for listed companies. For medium-sized companies, because they are solely owned either by one person or by a family. So no records. And she said, yes. Oh, that's great. You have done it well by not, going ahead to look at their meeting. They don't even have. So you don't bother yourself about that. I said the other one is the cross-border listing, because they are not listed anywhere. So they have branches or they have subsidiaries outside of the shores where they operate. That is not enough reason. And there were very few. And she said, yes. On those 2 grounds, we are allowed not to include them. So that was the question. And the chairman was able to appreciate it. That some other people would have just gone ahead, and at the end of the day, they run into troubled waters. And you need to ask your questions in a very friendly manner. Don't put them to task. Don't show them that you have a skill. Don't show them that you have an understanding. What you are asking is enlightenment. You want to add more to your knowledge base. And that solves the problem.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. I hope Mr. Shahrul get already the answer. Ms. Ferdisi, she also wanted to ask this question. I hope she also get it. Sometimes we have to be very bold. We should not be very apologetic. We should not be begging attitude. Sometimes in the Viva, we have to be very bold to ask the questions. And personally, I also sharing my experience. I also assisted around 20 PhD students before their Viva. So you you have to invite your friends, you have to invite your peers, okay, in your house or in a university, book a room, okay. You have to be present around 10 times before your final Viva. That makes you clear and fluency, enhance your fluency, okay. Then also you have to prepare the demo questions, what kind of questions the examiner can be asked, and each of the chapter, if we have the 5 chapter, we should summarize whole chapter. You have to be able to answer this chapter within 2 minutes. Each chapter you have to be able to answer within 2 minutes. So sometimes the examiners can be asked, okay, just summarize your thesis in 2 minutes. So suddenly your head is knocking, how can I summarize within 2 minutes? But you have to be capable, you have to think before, how can, what is the gist of your thesis, just present that, okay. So without the practicing, it's very difficult to do better in the Bible. More practice, practice makes perfect. So if any other questions? If not, then we can conclude. And once again, I want to thank Dr. Samuel for the wonderful knowledge sharing. And also, again, I want to say happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Okay, because it's your birthday. So please wish all the participants, Mr. Samuel, happy birthday. And keep with us. Okay? Stay with us. Our next webinar will be on October 1st week. That will be on the research mapping, how you can formulate your research topics from a mapping and framework. Okay? How you can identify the topics and convert into a framework. So stay with us, and we will share the video in our YouTube channel. And we have the payment mode already shared for getting the slides and resources. And those who paid, we will share some e-gift like e-book as well, okay, on this great occasion. Okay. So we will share the e-books as well. Okay. So thank you so much. Stay safe and take care. Thank you, doctor. If you have any concluding remark, you can say.
Well, I just want to encourage each and every one of us to always take advantage of opportunities like this to enhance our knowledge base and to also be able to interact with each other. And if there are other questions or areas that are still not clear about, my email address is with the organizer, and it can share it with you, and then you can contact me. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm writing the email of Onism. We just write email, then we can convey to our facilitator. Okay, and we have planned to organize some more webinar on the relationship between the students and supervisor, how to maintain a good relationship with the supervisor, and other aspects as well. So until then, see you and take care. Bye bye. Thank you. Our facilitator already write down the email, his email, and we will share in the group as well. Okay. Take care.